Poverty is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more. Seneca. For thousands of years, men have searched for happiness in the world outside themselves. They have pursued gold, possessions, status, admiration, and luxury, believing that fulfillment lay just beyond the next acquisition. Yet history reveals a strange and recurring tragedy. The more abundant civilizations accumulate, the more restless their inhabitants often become. This is the illusion of consumerism. It is the ancient belief that happiness can be purchased, that identity can be acquired, and that success can be worn like a garment. But possessions cannot create character, and while a man is not defined by what he owns, he can gradually become owned by the things he possesses. For many, these possessions become invisible chains. The grand estate that demands decades of labor, the carriage acquired beyond one's means, the symbols of prestige that quietly transform into obligations. What first appeared as freedom slowly becomes servitude. And thus, without ever entering a prison, countless people spend their lives confined, not by iron bars, but by commitments they no longer control. This is one of the great paradoxes of prosperity, for the objects that promise liberation often become instruments of dependence, and yet the illusion persists. Entire empires of commerce devote unimaginable resources to cultivating appearances, not merely to provide utility but to manufacture meaning, to convince people that objects possess the power to communicate identity. One symbol whispers wealth, another promises sophistication, another claims strength, refinement, or distinction. These messages are so deeply woven into society that many no longer recognize them as fabrications. They mistake perception for reality, but perception is a fragile thing. Imagine a world stripped of spectacle. Imagine a harsh age where survival alone occupied the thoughts of men. In such a world, ornate fabrics would simply become cloth. Decorated chariots would become transportation. Jewels would become stones, and luxury itself would surrender to utility. What remains when appearances are removed? Reality. And reality is often far simpler than vanity would have us believe. The purpose of sandals is to protect the feet. The purpose of a cloak is to provide warmth. The purpose of transportation is movement. Yet human beings possess a remarkable ability to burden the ordinary with imagined significance. They begin to believe that utility is insufficient, that simplicity is shameful, that function alone cannot satisfy. And so they seek not merely usefulness, but symbolism, not merely necessities, but statements, not merely possessions, but identities. The tragedy is that symbols can alter perception without altering substance. A man adorned in extravagant garments may be treated with admiration. Another clothed plainly may be ignored, and yet beneath the fabric, both remain equally mortal. Neither title nor ornament changes the nature of the soul, for appearances influence assumptions, but they do not transform reality. A crown cannot bestow wisdom, fine armor cannot create courage, and the most expensive athletic sandals ever crafted cannot grant a man the strength of a champion. The ancients understood this truth. Diogenes, who possessed almost nothing, was richer in freedom than many kings, for he recognized that dependence upon possessions is itself a form of slavery. And perhaps this is why the pursuit of more rarely ends, because consumerism does not promise satisfaction. It survives by promising perpetual dissatisfaction. Its whisper is never, "You have enough." Its whisper is always, "Just one more treasure, one more decoration, one more symbol of status, one more acquisition that will finally complete the self." Yet the self was never incomplete, and so the cycle continues, not because people are foolish, but because human beings have always been vulnerable to illusions. And among the most powerful illusions ever devised is the belief that meaning can be purchased, for happiness has never been hidden inside possessions. It has always depended upon the wisdom to know when enough is enough.